Recently, China announced it would be suspending the building of the world's biggest football-only stadium in Guangzhou, a $1.7 billion mega project that was designed to look like a lotus. Due to financial crisis, the audacious project was put on hold, proving that even in today's world, fortune doesn't always favor the brave.
Fortune favors the brave.
That is not correct.
Despite this setback, we have to ask ourselves as humans, what is the limit to what we can accomplish when it comes to stadium engineering? What is the largest stadium possible that we could build? Ah yes, the big game is finally here, and though you might not have a dog in the fight, there is a way to make this year's contest a little sweeter and much more interesting. That's why I am teaming up with DraftKings to give all new customers a winning offer. All new customers have to do is sign up for DraftKings using my promo code 5points, bet at least $5 on the big game, and you'll instantly receive $200 in bonus bets. Let me say that again. New customers bet just $5 on the big game, and you'll instantly get $200 in bonus bets deposited into your account, which can be used on same-game parlays. So you can go big by combining multiple bets like who scores the first TD and what the line is. And hey, if mobile gaming isn't available in your state, don't worry. You can still get in on the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy. Download the DraftKings app now, use promo code 5points, bet $5 on the big game, and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Again, that's promo code 5points, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The current world's largest stadium is Narendra Modi Stadium, which holds a seating capacity of 132,000. Renovated and reopened in 2020, it is a cricket ground located in Ahmedabad, India. What's interesting is, despite the huge capacity of this stadium, its largest attendance was only 101,566 in 2022. That's still 31,000 empty seats, nearly the size of a full NBA arena, leading you to believe it's tough to fill a stadium of this size. Now, before you bring up, say, a giant racetrack like Indy or Bristol in Tennessee, those are deemed as sporting venues, not stadiums. A stadium has to have a featured playing area, not a giant racetrack. Now that we know all this about Modi, it begs the question, is a huge stadium even necessary? Well, when you think about events that would want to house 130,000 plus people, the answer is really no. At some point, visibility into the playing area becomes ridiculously far, which is already the case in even large stadiums now. Perhaps a state-sponsored stadium could force that many people into it, but even in North Korea, their huge stadium is only 115,000 in capacity, which is 45,000 more than this year's Super Bowl. We've probably hit the upper limit on how big an actual stadium could realistically be. The only place I could see a huge stadium is perhaps in a country like the UAE, though they are struggling with ambitious projects already. But you didn't come to this video for realistic takes, you came to see what it would take to build a huge freaking stadium. So let's talk about that, how it could be done. To help me lay out some concepts, I brought in an expert, Jack, who does stadium renders on Twitter and his YouTube channel, which you can follow him after this vid.
So what do you think it would take to build a 1 million seat stadium?
Okay, so it would take a lot of things. It would take, first, a lot of money, more money than any one person possesses. It would take a lot of labor, hundreds of thousands of people, right? This isn't something that can be built in a couple years. It would take a decade, maybe more. It would take a lot of concrete and a lot of steel.
Multiple upper decks / freestanding. The first concept I have for a huge stadium would be simply building upward. In order to build upward, you would need a ton of concrete and steel and deep bedrock, deeper than your mom.
So every level that you go up, it gets heavier, right? You look at the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world. You look at One World Trade Center in New York City. Those buildings have to go deep into the ground, and they need to be, mounted on giant stakes that are driven extremely deep into bedrock.
As Jack explained, the foundation pillars for any tall building go deep into the ground, so for each deck you add, the deeper and deeper the footings need to be. Again, your mom. Getting to 200K spectators could be done relatively easy. There probably isn't much standing in the way of adding a third or fourth deck, other than just the pure logistics of getting people up that high and the cost of materials and labor involved. But a big limitation would be the fan experience, in particular if you didn't want poles obstructing views. Modern stadiums use a cantilever system that greatly increases the footprint size of a stadium in order to not have the poles in the seating area. A cantilever design would limit the size of a third or fourth deck and almost eliminate anything higher, as the stadium footprint would become unfeasibly large. However, if you go with poles, the stadium could theoretically go upwards to skyscraper heights. Look, I'm not an engineer, but I think you could get a 600,000 seat stadium this way. But we're not done. Massive area model. If you look at Modi, it's just a giant circle. Though it would suck for the spectator, you could simply take a stadium and hold the shift key on it and drag it until it is larger. Basically, the Oakland Coliseum. There is a stadium in the Czech Republic which was once just that, and it could fit about 250k spectators, though they were a mile away from the action. Sure, this would be a way of getting a large stadium, but would just not really count because everyone would need to bring telescopes. Now for probably the most feasible, over-the-top large stadium design. The Duggan Stadium. Now we are talking. What if we just dug a giant hole and slapped some seats on top of it and then put in a huge parking lot and called it a day? Sounds simple, right? But that's also not without its problems. The first problem is slope and getting an angle that allows people to see the action. You're going to need to reinforce the earth with some type of anchor, probably a mix of concrete and steel. You can't get too steep, otherwise all the dirt will crumble into the center. Think of the pyramids. They are at their slope because any angle steeper than 42 degrees would have caused them to collapse. The same is true when digging into the earth. But the bigger the hole you dig, the more problematic it will become getting to your seat.
If we're going to build a 1 million seat stadium, you got to go into the earth. There are issues with digging into the earth as well. You know, it's expensive. You would need a ridiculous plot of land for this. Because every ring that you're adding, I'm assuming we're going in a circle here.
Right.
You're getting exponentially larger every ring that you go. So we would need to recreate the Grand Canyon in a way.
Or just put it in the Grand Canyon.
Any stadium nerd such as myself and you has seen this 1 million-seater piece of art by artist Paul Pfeiffer. It's beautiful, but simply not realistic. If this were a Duggan Stadium, where on earth would these tunnels go? To other parts of the stadium? Maybe if you offset the digging of the hole, you would have an outer mound of dirt that you could tunnel through like the Yale Bowl, but that seems like a lot of dirt shoving just to get everyone into the stadium. A working design would most likely be similar to a Roman amphitheater where spectators access the stadium from the ground level, then walk down. At 1 million people, that distance could be as far as a quarter mile. Okay, one last idea. We could combine the dugout model and the upper deck concept to create a mega stadium, kind of like Autzen on steroids. But man, we would need to find a ton of materials. I do genuinely believe a 1 million seat stadium is possible, especially if we dig it out. Except it would just simply suck. And finally, for our last outrageous large stadium concept, all of humanity. In 1957, world-famous architect Frank Lloyd Wright conceptualized a skyscraper that would be a literal mile high. Intended to be built in Chicago, Wright named it the Illinois, and it would have been 4 times the height of the Empire State Building and twice the height of the Burj Khalifa. White genuinely believed the building could be built, and he laid out the plan for how it could be realistically done. What does that have to do with large stadiums? Well, it got me thinking, what if we got with a smart engineer and put all of humanity together to build the world's largest stadium possible? A 7 billion seater. So standing shoulder to shoulder, the entire population of the world could fit in an area of about 500 square miles, or all of Los Angeles, which, I mean, if you've ever been to Los Angeles. So you have to dig a hole that is big and then add aisles, seats, scoreboards, the playing surface, the concessions, 2 terrible LA-based teams, and of course, everyone on the freaking planet. You would end up with something that looks like this. Think about the line for the bathroom. So, what do we learn here? There probably will never be a stadium bigger than 150k people, at least not in our lifetimes. It's possible that one could be 400 to 500k, but obviously unnecessary. A 1 million seat stadium could be built given unlimited resources, and all of us could fit inside a stadium that's just about the size of Southern California. Oh, just to see a Taylor Swift concert. I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it. to my next video.